And so we said, well, we know we've got chocolate nuts and popcorn. What else can we do? And we said, well, we're BUNN. We've got a lot of equipment. We could have some great beverages there. So let's open a cafe. Yeah. Well, I think we're going to need a couple of chefs, aren't we? Okay, let's have a menu. And I mean, really, we built that just from one idea after the other. And we thought, well, if we've got great dispensed beverages, we ought to get a liquor license. So let's do beer, wine, and cocktails. Sure. That's one more thing that people will come in for. Yeah. And then, well, we could make ice cream. That's not that hard to do. Let's go ahead and do. Let's get everything you should put in your body under one roof.
Well, joining us today at the table is Desiree Logsdon, the Senior Vice President of Corporate Citizenship at BUNN. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Desiree.
Thanks for having me. It's great. You are two of my favorite business people in town, so I'm honored to be here.
We'll pay you later for saying that. Right. Thank you so much.
That's from the heart.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that and appreciate all that you do for the community. So one of the things we've learned with doing this podcast is people love to hear other people's stories and about their journey. And so tell us a little bit about your role, how long have you been at BUNN, how did you end up at BUNN, all of those good things.
And before you get started, nobody has ever brought us these kind of gifts. Candy and popcorn are my favorite things in the world to eat, so thank you.
Yes, absolutely. It'll be gone before the day's over.
That's good. We believe in better living through chocolate, so that's good.
And one of the cool things, and I know you'll talk about it, is that there are so many things that BUNN has done and continues to do today that folks have no idea. People think coffee makers, anyway. So
they're an amazing family.
Unbelievable.
So just briefly, how I got to Springfield and BUNN, I was assigned to Lanphier High School to do my student teaching.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Chicago suburbs, and I got assigned to Lanphier. Loved Springfield, didn't love teaching. So I decided to stay. My friends in Chicago thought I was crazy, but Springfield was easy to build a network. It was just an affordable town to live in, an easy town as a young single person to get to know people. So I ended up with the state for 4 years. Decided I wanted to get in private industry. Took a job with the old White Hen Pantry, if you remember that.
Is that right?
When you run out to White Hen. Remember that little jingle?
Yep.
Did that for a couple of years. Wasn't exactly what I wanted. And then I found the BUNN family in 1986. And was hired to run their test kitchen and do their marketing, and worked at the BUNN Capital for 21 years. The family sold that business in 2006. And I was asked to join BUNN-O-Matic. So that's how I've evolved and stayed with the BUNN family. It's been an amazing journey. In my current role, I'm the Senior Vice President of Corporate Citizenship. That means that I oversee the great things that the BUNN family does, not only locally in Springfield and the community, but around the world. So we believe our primary mission is to act with purpose, to make a difference in the communities where we live and work. And so that means we care about coffee growers around the world, right? Because if there is no coffee bean, there is no brewer needed.
Right.
So we look around the world and see how we can use our expertise and our resources to help those in need in our industry. So,
is there a country or an area where most coffee beans are grown?
Yeah, Brazil is your largest coffee. Vietnam is number 2.
Really? I never would have known that. Okay.
Then people always think Colombia.
Sure.
But it's I think now number 3. It kind of changes a little bit based on the crops each year. But one of the things we've done as an organization is we like to travel to those countries of origin, visit with the growers, and find out what their challenges are, and see what we can do to help. So
that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I think folks would have no idea. Right?
Is coffee grown year round? Coffee beans harvested?
Everything's seasonal.
Seasonal, just
so
like
it's like a lot of fruits. You know, the coffee tree starts with a bloom, a flower. The more blooms there are, the better season it's going to be when those become cherries. So coffee is actually a cherry.
Okay.
And in each cherry there are 2 beans. And so that's how you get your coffee. And then they're dried and roasted. And
Gotcha.
And that's what's in your cup every morning.
That's awesome.
I would have never known.
I sure didn't know Vietnam was a producer of coffee.
Huge.
I don't know why, but I would not have thought that was the case.
Well, and most coffee is grown in developing countries, and so that has its own set of issues, right?
Right.
90% of coffee work in the producing regions is done by women.
Is that right?
Wow.
And that in itself has a lot of problems in those cultures because sometimes women aren't respected or paid the same amount as other type workers would be. So there's just a lot of challenges in coffee. So people think about Starbucks and a great cup of coffee, but before it gets there, there's a lot of things that happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned folks like Starbucks. Do you guys provide a lot of resources to companies like, say, Starbucks and others?
Yeah, we are blessed to work with every major roaster or coffee retailer around the globe. We currently do business in 90 countries.
Wow.
So it's, we believe in the industry, and we, again, like to do what we can to make it more profitable for our customers and seamless for their customers, that they can have a great experience and a great cup of coffee.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that you do business with
around
the globe.
We did a tour.
Level.
I don't know 6 months ago, or was it a year ago? With was it Mark?
Scott Lee and was Mark. Mark Watson. It's probably been about 3 years ago.
Right.
Now
I did not realize though how many different types of, I'm going to say it wrong, machines that you make that produce different products. It was fascinating to me that a lot of that is made right here in Springfield, Illinois.
Yeah, people just think of the coffee brewer, but as I was mentioning to you both earlier, we transform water.
Yeah.
So everything we do starts with water. That's why we're huge believers in water filtration, because you have to have great water to have a great beverage.
Yeah.
So that means that we produce super automatic espresso machines, frozen gourmet drink machines. Most people call them slushies.
Yeah.
The new cold brew. You hear a lot about cold brew and nitro brew. Yeah. We have solutions for that. And we're just continually looking at the industry and making sure our equipment addresses the needs of the coffee shops and the beverage cafes around the world.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Well, so you started, you said 1986 with the BUNN family. Mm-hmm. How did you get introduced to the BUNNs and if you can share that? I'm just curious.
I can share.
How you
I love telling this story. No, I love telling this story. So I was not real happy with what I was doing in the convenience store industry, and a friend of mine told me there was a man named Bob BUNN that was looking for somebody to run his test kitchen. Mm-hmm. And so I was young and fearless, and I picked up the phone, and I called, and I asked for Bob BUNN, thinking I'd get his secretary. And all of a sudden, I get this, "Hi, this is Bob BUNN." I'm like, "Oh, not prepared for this one."
I didn't think I'd get this guy.
I told him my name, and he actually has shared with me they had already made a decision on another person, but he was fascinated by the name Desiree Logsdon, which was my name at the time, and so he asked me to come in and interview, and it all went well, and I ended up getting the position. So,
that's terrific.
That's really one of the best days of my life. So
that's
it was
awesome.
great.
What a great story.
How many different roles have you served at BUNN?
My gosh.
Being there that long.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for me to count, but now, the cool part about my journey and my journey with the BUNNs is they've always given me the opportunity to try the next great thing.
Awesome.
So started with the test kitchen, then took over marketing, and then took over all our events, and then we had a company corporate travel program where we'd take our customers around the world, and I got to do that. And then when I went with BUNN-O-Matic, it exploded even more, and I was able to run global marketing and take people to countries of origin. So I've gone to Guatemala 13 times and taken customers and other people on our team so they can experience the challenges in countries of origin. And then in 2014 we formed our business with our business partnership with Pizzas.
Right. Yeah.
And so BUNN called me in one day and said, "We're going to buy a chocolate company. I'm going to need a little help." And so my role changed again. So it's just been an amazing almost 40-year journey of just I can do that.
Yeah.
And always willing to try and always thankful to have had the opportunity.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I know the BUNN family is obviously so well respected in this community, and it's such an honor for Springfield to have BUNN in this community. And
I agree. They're wonderful
the jobs
people.
that are provided, the investment. Over the years, I've gotten to know Hy a little bit, and he is one of the most generous people that I've ever met, and I know the kinds of investments he's made in this community, and I'm sure there's a whole lot more that we don't know about. He is just one heck of a guy, and obviously a great company.
Yeah. And he's very modest about it too. But
I know it. He probably wouldn't appreciate me saying that.
Right?
Right.
He might blush.
Right.
But,
exactly.
I know if every morning on the news, if there's a problem in our community, a tragedy in our community, I know I'm going to get a call that day, and Hy's going to say, how can we help? What can we do?
Yeah.
And so, we don't have a lot of resources, but the ones we have, we're willing to put at people in places that need them. So
Which is really pretty cool.
Yeah.
So tell us about some of the things you brought along with you today.
I brought props just in case I'm boring. Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about is just the history of the BUNN family businesses. Yeah. And so people may or may not know, but the BUNN had the first grocery store downtown Springfield in 1840. Mm-hmm. It was located on the corner of 5th and Adams. Huh. So it's now the Innovation Center, which is kind of ironic. Yes. It was right down the street from Abe Lincoln's law office. Okay. So one of the cool things that Jacob and John Bunn did as they ran that grocery store is they got to know a guy named Abe Lincoln. Wow. And he became their friend. And then eventually they needed legal advice, and he became their attorney. So we always like to say we've been local since Lincoln, because he was our first attorney. Sure. Jacob and John went on to work on his presidential campaign and worked very closely with him. They actually served as pallbearers in his funeral as well as Mary Todd Lincoln's funeral. So we have a real close relationship with the Lincoln name and the Lincoln family, and that's why now at Pisa's we make this beautiful chocolate Lincoln penny.
I love it. It's awesome.
Just a big part of the heritage that BUNN is really proud of. So. And from that business, many businesses spun off on that. So people may not know that the BUNN family had a candy factory downtown in the early 1900s. They had this beautiful box of candy. This is actually one of the original candy boxes, and it was called Happy Land Chocolates. And that was on Adams and the railroad tracks there. Right down there. The building has since been torn down. But that building lasted up through the Depression. Then you could no longer get sugar. So they had to close that business. But then when we formed our relationship with Pisa's, we brought this box back, and we now sell that at Pisa's just as a nod toward the original candy company that the BUNN family had.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool. The taste of history. Yeah,
and
really
we were talking earlier. How many businesses have they had over the years?
They've had 68 businesses.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when Bob Bunn always talks about that, he says, the original business was like an oak tree, and everything else was a branch that came off of that. Yeah. And they've always thought about whatever they did, they wanted to do it with the best quality. Sure. So that leads me to the Illinois Watch Company, which they had. I don't know my years like Bob Bunn does, but they had the Illinois Watch Company. And what was cool about that, in those days, cool too, right? There were the railroads didn't have reliable watches. The conductors didn't have reliable watches. So there were a lot of train collisions. And when the Bunns had the Illinois Watch Factory, they figured out how to make a watch that was super accurate. And so it became the first watch sanctioned by the railroads to say every conductor must have an Illinois watch. And they cut down on the train collisions that were based on the fact that they just didn't have
That's interesting.
An accurate watch.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And these are cool stories. Yeah.
And they actually manufactured a line called the BUNN Special. And those are still available. A lot of people collect those from the Illinois Watch Company. So, kind of cool. And then Illinois Watch became Sangamo Electric because they had that same technology that they knew how to invent a electric meter. And that led then to the invention of sonar. And at the time of World War II, I think the Illinois Watch or Sangamon Electric had 90% of the sonar business, and that was used to detect German submarines during the war. So, just some cool histories there.
Yeah.
I imagine very few people have any
know
idea.
That.
That is really cool. Very cool.
Well, anybody that wants to know more, the Illinois Presidential Museum is going to do a display of the BUNN family history of all their businesses outside the Ghost of the Library starting in April of this year.
Oh, good to know. That'd be
How
great.
long will that last?
Through July. July 1, I think April it goes to. Yeah. So
awesome.
Kind of a fun project we've been working on with them.
Yeah, that's really cool. That is very neat. So 40 years. What have been your big, or almost 40? What have been your biggest challenges in your professional journey?
Again, we do have a time cap, right?
Yeah, well,
Not all of your challenges.
That's right. Some of the top 2 or 3.
Right.
I just think in general, it's just staying relevant. So whatever division it was that I was working in, marketing particularly, you have to stay relevant. And I was talking to our director of IT this morning and talking about how, technology and data collection and all that is changing. And you always just have to be the best and on your game and innovate and change. And I think that's hard for any company.
Sure.
And if you don't do that, you're left behind. So you just always have to make financial investment. And, I learned recently, I didn't know this, we hired a data scientist just to make sure that as we mine all this data from our customers and our equipment, that we're doing the right things to move our equipment forward and move our innovation forward. So, I think that's it. Staying relevant, I think, is very important. That you can't always do it the way you always did it. It's just that old thing, right?
Yeah, so, that's hard for people.
Yeah. It is a challenge, right? To stay. I mean, in some ways it sounds simple, stay relevant, but how many businesses, as well as individuals, struggle to stay relevant?
And it's expensive. You have to invest in new technologies all the time. And that's, so you have to put money back in the business. And that's, some companies can do that and some cannot. And then they go by the wayside. So,
we feel that in our own company.
Yeah.
And it's hard to implement new technologies. People are like, we don't do it that way. Well, if we don't do it that way, we won't be around. You're right.
Yeah, we won't be. If we're not going to be relevant, we won't be around.
Yeah,
right?
Because your competitor will.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I get it.
So.
Yeah, it is. As you say that, I think about just
how hard it was
over 3 years here. Some of the new technologies we've put in place, and just the challenge to move forward with that and get everybody on board. Yeah,
and then to get your people to engage with that.
Yes.
Everybody's got to be on board, and that's hard too because you have people that don't want to change and don't want to adapt, and that's really challenging. I think in any industry,
for sure.
So,
yeah, it definitely is. Tell us a little bit about Silsa.
You
were one of the original folks who helped form that organization. We're fairly engaged with the group. I mean, one of our core values is world-class service, and it's all about delivering great customer service. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you for your support for the Customer Service Association. Yeah, we started that, believe it or not, 10 years ago. Our 10th anniversary will be this year. 3 of us in Springfield, Mike Pence with Mike Springfield and Steve Peralta came to me and said, would you be a founding member? And, we had about 33 cents and 3 minds. And we said, we think Springfield could be a better place if we had better customer service. And so we adopted the slogan that we want to make Springfield the friendliest city. Yeah. And what we do is we do quarterly presentations. You all know because you've come to almost every single one of them. That just engage all of our retailers and manufacturers and any hospitality partners in the town and in the community, and get them to come and learn more about customer service. And so it's been a wonderful journey, and it's an all volunteer organization, and great companies like you come forward and support us, and we think we're making a difference.
Well, you are. I mean, the speakers for us, I think, have all been spot on.
For sure. But I think that's been a great investment in the community, and I love the whole thing about making Springfield the, what is it, the happiest?
The friendliest.
The friendliest, yes, the friendliest. Because we all know this town can be, sometimes for new folks, could be a challenge.
Oh, really?
Right.
No. I would know firsthand, for
Says
sure.
the man from Decatur.
So, coming from the guy that tried to do business over here for 18 years, and like I always say, driving back and forth from Decatur, I told Chris, I said, I should have just taken $1 million and thrown it out on South Grand. It'd have been a lot easier until I moved over here.
Sometimes the learning curve is a little bit longer
it was expensive.
than it should
be. It was a little expensive, but it is a buy local town, and I love that. And now that I'm local, I really appreciate it and embrace it. And it really is. And I love that about Springfield.
Well, and I think one of the things I'm seeing more, having done volunteer work for really since I moved here, is I think we're seeing a little bit more collaboration. So groups like SILSA and Local First and the Chamber and, groups that are doing great work are helping each other. We've got the new RISE organization.
Yes.
It's a young people's organization coming out of the Chamber. And I'm seeing them collaborate, and I love that because I think just better work happens. Yeah. If we can bring our minds together, and that's what makes a special community. I
agree. 100%. Did you start the RISE deal?
No, I wasn't sharp enough.
Why didn't you
do anything?
What were you doing when you were there?
I wasn't wise enough to do anything of value, so that's why I had to leave. So.
Yeah, thank God Mike's over
there. None of that's
right?
true. None of that's
Mike
true.
Murphy saved that place. I'm telling you.
No, Chris Hembrough, not true. Fake news. No, not true.
Well, what's going on? What's the cool stuff going on at Pease's? Because you've done a lot of great stuff. And
so
I don't know
thank you.
that people know what's going on and how big that business is. Even not that we were going to talk about
Yeah.
that, but
No,
like the
it's
different
fine.
things you do there.
Yeah, so, for people that don't know, we have 2 Pieces locations in town. We have the original Pieces at State and Laurel, which is just a quaint little candy and popcorn and nut shop. But then when we started this whole journey with Pieces, we decided to open a gourmet destination in the Gables. And we thought the Gables was a lovely spot in Springfield. It's such a nice shopping area that has so many interesting destinations there. And so we said, well, we know we've got chocolate, nuts, and popcorn. What else can we do? And we said, well, we're BUNN. We've got a lot of equipment. We could have some great beverages there. So let's open a cafe.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to need a couple of chefs, aren't we? Okay, let's have a menu. And I mean, really, we built that just from one idea after the other. And we thought, well, if we've got great dispensed beverages, we ought to get a liquor license. So let's do beer, wine, and cocktails. That's one more thing that people will come in for.
Yeah.
And then, well, we could make ice cream. That's not that hard to do. Let's go ahead and let's get everything you should put in your body under one roof. So, and then one of our goals was always to bring the jobs back to Springfield. So Pieces had outsourced a lot of their chocolate making down to St. Louis with a company called Chocolate.
Interesting. I don't think a lot of people know that.
No, I
yeah.
wouldn't have
And so
known
when we bought Pieces, we thought, well, we'll continue that relationship. They make some of our creams and caramels, but we're going to bring those jobs back to Springfield. So if you go into Pieces of BUNN Gourmet, you'll now see a chocolate manufacturing plant right there.
Yep.
The popcorn, we pop over in a commissary on Stevenson Drive. Reason being, you don't really want popcorn and chocolate in the same environment because chocolate's a scavenger and will pick up those smells of the popcorn, which is good on its own merit, but not so good in your chocolate bar.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so we do that. So it's a big operation, and we have the commissary where we pop the popcorn, and have a large chocolate room where we store our chocolate under temperature and humidity controlled conditions. We build gift baskets over there. We do a lot with corporate gifts at the holiday times where people will buy 600 and 700 gift baskets to send out to their customers. So you need a lot of space to do that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So
do you do a lot of those kind of corporate gift baskets for, I'm sure for local companies, but for companies all over the country, I suspect?
We are blessed to have, yes, we do. We have a lot of customers that aren't in this market that contact us every year. We have people around the country named Pieces that like to buy our things.
Oh,
Their last
really?
name is Pieces, and they'll
that's cool.
contact us so we can get something with their last name on it, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, corporate business is a big part of our particular.
You guys
holiday
still
time.
sell the steaks there?
We do, yeah.
The
So
best steaks
Those
ever.
are great steaks.
a little thing that a lot of people don't know about the BUNN family and their businesses. They have a farm near Pleasant Plains. It's called Quarter Beef Farm. They raise racehorses out there, but they have a herd of cattle that's 100% Black Angus. So people use the term Black Angus, but you really only have to be 50% Black, 51%
really?
to call your beef Black Angus. But in the BUNN case, it's a Black Angus mom and a Black Angus dad. So we only do 100% Black Angus, which
Well,
creates.
it is unbelievable.
Yeah,
It is
it's
good,
really
good
well
stuff.
marbled, and
Yes.
it's some people like grass fed, some people like grain fed. We believe that a combination of grass and grain is the way to go. So feed them on grass, finish them on grain to get that great marbling and that tenderness. And so yes, so
And
those
it is
steaks we sell them at Pieces of BUNN Gourmet, and they're available online as well.
Yeah.
So
One more thing that
Yeah.
nobody had any
Nobody
idea
would know.
about.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? When I was living in Decatur, I'd met Bob Bunn over here for lunch one day. First time I'd ever met him, and he was promoting the meat over in Decatur at a wine store and some other places. And I just by happenstance said, we're having a cocktail party at my house, and he says, well, I would be willing to come over and cook steaks and then serve them to your guests, my wife and I. I didn't really think he was serious. I didn't think much about it. And he goes, let me get your card. And he followed up the very next day. And him and his wife showed up, and they cooked, fillets, New York strips, the whole deal, fed 75 people. They went around and served. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that it promoted his product in Decatur. But I couldn't believe that Bob Bunn was cooking on my grill. I mean,
Such a
that's
lovely,
awesome.
he's a lovely
such
individual.
a
And
lovely
his wife,
individual.
too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Although
Yeah.
you do know Bob volunteers and probably doesn't tell Sarah that he's going to volunteer, but then Sarah
That
shows up
may have
anyway.
been the case,
There
yeah.
could have been.
But it was really
It
cool.
could have
Yeah,
been.
that's a great
Yeah.
story.
No, yeah.
Well, when I was at Big Brothers Big Sisters, we used to take some of the kids in the program out to the farm.
Yes.
To ride horses. Right. That's where we first connected. I think
so. Absolutely.
Yeah, which was again just one of those investments in the community that nobody talks about, and I know High wouldn't talk about it.
Right.
But it's anyway.
Yeah, we've continued to do those camps for kids. We did one this summer with the kids at the Y.
Yeah,
and
cool.
took them out in a hay rack ride and let them feed baby calves with a bottle and just things that kids wouldn't get the chance to do.
Wouldn't experience otherwise.
Yeah. So, and those are fun days. Those are really fun days. So
you were talking about traveling to so many of the different places around the world. Do you travel a lot these days?
Not as much as I did. When I was president of the International Women's Coffee Alliance, for about 10 years, I was involved with that group. I traveled all over the world because I would go and meet with women in countries of coffee origin and help them start chapters so that they could support each other within their countries. So that took me to India and Colombia and Ethiopia and just all over the world. So just that was a very interesting time in my career. So great memories, wonderful memories of that.
Well, one of the things we always ask folks as we kind of wrap up, we want to respect your time and not take your whole day here.
This is the big question?
Yes.
Yeah,
this is what we've been building to?
This is what this is the big one.
It's really profound. Not really. No, we just always ask folks, hopefully we all grow and learn over the years, right? If you could look back and tell your younger self 30 years ago, give yourself some advice back then based on what you've learned over the years, what kind of advice would you give your younger self?
Always take the path of kindness. I think that's so true right now for all of us to remember. There's so much anger going on. And I find when we talk about customer service, I find when I am nice to somebody I'm trying to do business with, I feel so much better. And, I think we all get to the point where we're on the phone with somebody, maybe we're not getting the answers we want, or we can't quite understand what they're telling us, and we get angry. And you end up ruining that person's day. And so I have reminded myself that you get so much better customer service, you get better relationships if you're just kind. And it's not that hard to be nice. So that would be what I would tell that young Desiree.
I like that.
That is great advice. That is
simple.
And very well said. And you're right. The world we live in today is a different world. And there's so much of that. And
because it doesn't feel good when you're on the receiving end of somebody that's not kind.
No.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And you hang up the phone or you walk away and you feel like a bad person.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
and then it just becomes like a poison that leaks into everything throughout the day, right?
Yeah.
It really does.
Right.
So that is really good advice. It should be common sense for all of us, but common sense is not so common these days.
No, isn't it?
I hate to say.
Well said.
Yeah. So
and based on all the goodies you brought us, we are going to have you back maybe before
we'll
the
do
1 year mark.
We've not done this before, but we'll do. We may do a quarterly guest program with gifts every time.
No one wants that again. No one.
Hey, thank you for joining us. Thanks for everything you do for the community here. Obviously, you do a lot around the world through BUNN, but I know you make personally as well as corporately a lot of investments here, and
thank you.
You were greatly appreciated. So
thank you.
Thanks.
I
for
love
joining
Springfield.
us.
It's easy. So
right.
Thank you, Desiree.
Pretty good place. Thanks so much.
Yep.
All right.